Canto 20. Summary. The travelers come to the fourth ditch of Malebolge, where the pilgrim sees a people slowly pacing forward, as if in liturgical procession. However, upon closer inspection, he realizes that this is something new and terrible. They are not moving forward, but backward. That is, their bodies are walking backwards, but their heads have been twisted all the way around so that their faces are aligned with their backsides. These are the fortune-tellers, diviners, and soothsayers. They attempted to look too far into the future, and so they must now always look backward, into the past, as it were. They are weeping copiously. The pilgrim weeps as well, again overcome with pity at seeing the human form so distorted. Virgil criticizes him, however, for where divine justice is enacted, being right and perfect, one should not show pity. Dante makes a pun on the Italian word pietà, which can mean both pity and piety. Pity, or compassion, after the moment of final judgment is out of place, as it communicates a less than perfect union with the will of God. Virgil continues by pointing out several classical figures known for being diviners. Amphiaraus was one of those that attacked Thebes. See Capaneus from Canto 14. Tiresias was the blind prophet from Thebes. Aruns foretold the war between Caesar and Pompey. Monto was the daughter of Tiresias, taking up the family profession. Eurypylus was said, a story invented by Dante, to have divined the beginning of the Trojan War. Michael Scott was a Scottish wizard from the early 13th century. Guido Bonatti was a Forlian astrologer, and Asdente was a shoemaker turned prophet from Parma, hence leather and twine, and other witches as popularly conceived. In the middle of this catalogue of figures, Virgil pauses on Monto to tell the story of how Mantua, Virgil's hometown, was founded. Interestingly, this account contradicts the account the historical Virgil gives in Book 10 of the Aeneid. Dante's Virgil even asks the pilgrim to make sure and count as fraudulent any other report he might hear, including, it would seem, the one recorded in the Aeneid. As he finishes, he notes that the moon is setting in the northern hemisphere, Cain and his thorns, or as we would say, the man in the moon, referring to the marks in the moon's surface. If yesternight was the night before Good Friday, when the pilgrim was still wandering in the dark wood, then it is now about 6 a.m. on the morning of Holy Saturday. Canto 20. Soothsayers and Magicians. Pain unknown must be versified by me, be the theme for the 20th canto of this first canzone of those submerged. Already I was thoroughly disposed to examine the uncovered bottom, which was bathing itself in anguished tears, and I saw people through the round valley, quiet and weeping, coming at the pace the litanies in this world are declaimed. As my eyes traveled further down their form, each appeared to be wondrously twisted between the chin and the top of the chest, for their faces were turned round toward the back. Thus each of the souls had to walk backwards, for sight of things ahead had been removed. It may be, by force of paralysis, one was thus utterly overcome, but I have not seen it, nor think it could be. If God permits you, reader, to take fruit from your reading, consider for yourself how I could have kept my face free of tears, when from so near I saw our own image so twisted round that the tears from their eyes bathed their own buttocks down along the crack. Of course I was weeping, leaning against one of the rocks of the hard ridge, so that my escort said, "Are you still such a fool? Here piety lives when pity is dead. Who is more impious than the one who reacts to divine judgment with passion? Raise your head, look at him for whom the earth opened itself before the Theban eyes." Therefore they all cried, "Where are you rushing, Amphiaraus? Why do you leave the war?" And he did not rest from rushing downwards till he came to Minos, who seizes all. Look at him, who makes a breast of his back. Because he wished to see too far ahead, he stares behind and walks a backward path. See Tiresias, that changed appearance when from male into female he was made, completely changing all of his members. It was fitting that he then, once again, beat the two twisted serpents with a stick, before he could regain his manly plumes. Aruns is he that backs up to his gut, and he had in the mountains of Luni, where the Kereres work and dwell below, amid white marble, a cave for his home. That place from which to contemplate the stars and the sea was in no way diminished. And that one that covers her unseen breasts, which you cannot see, with untied tresses, and the other hairy parts on that side, Manto she was, that searched through many lands, and then settled where I was born. Wherefore, I would like you to hear me a little. After her father departed this life, and the city of Bacchus was enslaved, she wandered around the world a long time. There lies a lake in lovely Italy, below the Alps where Germany begins, above the Tyrol, named the Benacco. By 1,000 springs, I believe, and more, Garda, Valcomunica, Benigno, all bathe themselves with water from that lake. There is the place where the Trentine pastor, that of Brescia and Verona as well, would give a blessing should he make the trip. There sits the fine stronghold of Peschiera, to beat back Brescians and the Bergamese, where the rounding bank finds its lowest point. Thence all that in the womb of Benacco cannot remain, but must fully rush down and be a river through the green fields below. Its waters begin to flow quickly down, no more called Benacco, but the Mincio, till Governolo, where it finds the Po. Before it flows far, it finds a lowland in which it spreads out and becomes a swamp, and in summer is routinely toxic. Therefore the crude virgin, on her way through, saw land in the middle of the marshes, free of cultivation and occupants. Escaping all human society, there she stayed with servants to do her arts. There she lived, there she left her empty shell. Afterwards the men that were spread about took for themselves that place which was made strong, by the swamp that the land kept on all sides. They built their city over those dead bones, and for her who had first chosen the place, Mantua, they named it, without more signs. Once the people there were quite numerous, before the folly of Casolidi suffered the deceit of Binamonte. Therefore I ask you, should you ever hear other account of my land's origins, let no lie defraud the truth. I answered, Master, to me your arguments are sound, and so gain my trust, such that all others would be to me but spent coals. But tell me, of these people that proceed, if you see any of them that are worthy of note, because to that alone my mind returns. Then he said to me, He whose beard extends from his cheeks down over his dark shoulders was an augur when Greece was void of men. Even in cradles they hardly remained. And when he was with Calchas at Aulis, he said when they should sever the first rope. Eurypylus was his name. Of him sings, somewhere or other, my high tragedy. You will know the place, you know it so well. That other one there who is so feeble in his flanks was Michael Scott. Certainly he understood the game of magic frauds. See Guido Bonatti, see Asdente, who could now wish that he had held on to his leather in twine, but repents too late. See the wretched ones who left the needle, loom, and spindle, and became soothsayers. With images and herbs they made their charms. But now come away, for already Cain and his thorns hold the boundary between both hemispheres, touching civilian waves. Yesternight the moon was already full. You must remember it well, for never did it do you harm there in the thick wood. So he spoke to me, and meanwhile we walked.